If you cannot engender trust, you cannot have financing. Can you help me tell the next person, if you can't engender trust, you can't have financing? You heard of the object could tell your worth. And so once I have the replicas, I could exchange for the real thing. Now get the transition quite well. And then this is current Turkey. So this is Lydia. That was where the currency, first gold, was minted. And so current Turkey in 600 BC is said to have been the foundation of modern money. And then not until 1200 AD, that with the travels of Marco Polo and other European people traveling around the world, the need for paper money became essential. Coins was what it was all through. Now understand that even at this point we have businesses, right? Right? And so if you think that money or coins or the value of paper is how you run money, then the question is, how were people running businesses in 9000 BC? Hello? Is somebody following the discussion? How were people running businesses in 11,000 BC in China when replicas was what it was? Now understand that to attract resource, it's to understand the foundations of how these businesses have run over the ages in order to attract resource. If I tell you right now, if you had an idea in money, you could get whatever funding you needed. Would you believe me? Would you believe me? During our last episode, when we launched our last episode as Africa Learn, we decided to put $2,000 on the run. To say that if you had a great idea, just pitch it. Send us a bio and you could get $2,000. We got a couple of ideas. $2,000 is still in a trust fund. No one got it. And I'll tell you, if you went to a bank, almost all the 23 banks that are left now have huge budgets for giving loans to good ideas. At least I still work with a bank, so I know. There is money enough to go around. And I'm not kidding you. But the question is, what idea is in the money? How do you get ideas? So let's understand the principles that underpins financing from as way back so that we can appreciate it. Now these percentages are my subjective guesses that they contribute to how people get money. So the very first thing is the entrepreneur or the person. That word to get money is you. So the enterprise rises or falls on the entrepreneur. So the question is, financiers elect to put money in persons rather than in ideas. And so if two people came and pitched the same idea, the question is, who are you going to elect among the two of them? Hello? Two people come with you with the same idea. On what basis are you going to give person A money and not person B? Now the bankers have something they call character as part of some of the things they measure in giving money. Now it's to measure the nature of the person who carries that idea. And so if you usually, banks would also say put something down. And so we all understand at least nothing, if nothing at all about the bank. We understand that the bank would require collateral, right? Right?
Yes.
That is nothing to say that show us as an entrepreneur that this means something to you to give you money for. And so those things have become a measure of the nature of the entrepreneur or the nature of that person who holds that idea. Usually the question is, are you somebody for whom I can give money? And usually the answer is no. Don't forget that the data I showed you from the beginning are Ghanaian enterprises. All of them are, okay, not all, except for one or two. But majority of them are Ghanaian enterprises we survey. 14,000 of them month on month. And half of them are failing. And so the question is, can I trust you to give you that money? Am I sure you're not getting a second wife after you get that money?
Side chick.
Or Cedric will get a second wife?
Side chick.
Side chick.
10 years anniversary.
10 years anniversary. Don't forget that a financier will finance a person who is committed to that dream and is able to show that I won't live or die with this. Let me leave it there. I have another training at 3 somewhere, so I need to go. But then I understand that, and that's, in my estimation, that's the biggest question to answer whether you want finance or not, is whether you have character for it. And ask any banker or any financier anywhere, the biggest thing we're measuring is whether you have character. And so sometimes you have conversations with people who want money and you just laugh. You have a wish list, you're not committed to it. And so understand this, if you really want opportunities to fund your business idea, build that character that attracts finance. The second thing, which is business dynamics, how well do you understand the business? Don't forget that we're discussing the undercurrents of financing. What are the things that drives the opportunity to attract funds? The first one we said is the entrepreneur himself. The second one is the understanding of the business dynamic. Usually people want to do things they don't understand. And so if you went to somebody and you told him, I wanted to, let's go to KIC, I want to snail farming. Understand that the financier would ask you 1,001 questions, only to understand how well you know the business. How marketable is it? The nature of the business you want, the forces of demand and supply, things of pricing and consumer behavior. How do people react to that business? Now, a clear understanding of that business is not negotiable. You cannot run a business you do not understand. And no one will give you money for business you don't understand. No one. So the question is, if you truly want finance, one, build your character, but two, be a master of that. Because every proposal would say the people behind the idea and will tell the knowledge those people have. How well those people understand the business they intend to run. If you don't understand it, forget about it. Now the third thing is resilience. Now understand that businesses will go through cycle, as we said. But that cycle offers a lot of changes through the business. And so if a business is not resilient, no one will put money in it. If somebody can see through a business and say that it's seasonal, and so yes, you want to produce Valentine cards, but you have one market season the whole 365 days in a year. So if you do not sell on 14th, all the cards on all your production costs has to wait for another 300. I won't give you money. I won't. It's not because it's a bad idea, but it's because the financing cycle does not offer me resilience. Now, of all the things we can understand about Charles Darwin and all the disagreements we may have with him, there is one thing he is clearly right about. It is not the strongest that survives. It is not the fittest that survives. It is the most adaptive. And so, understand that if you want to build a business, build resilience such that you adapt, you understand the seasons in order to regroup your business as such. Can you change form? Can you be a Chimelion? Or a Chimelion is not here. No one knows what a Chimelion is. Chameleon, yes. He's an educated one. I was told it was a Chimelion, but apparently it's a chameleon. So, Be a chameleon and make your business understand the cycles in order to adapt. And the final thing that underpins finance is sustainability, which is the concept of how well anchored is the business on the factors of its production. And so if my business depends on A, B, C, D persons, to what level is that dependency affecting the fact that the business can survive or otherwise? So let me give you a typical example. So I produce, let's say, asana. But I take maize from Untitled Chapter. The question of sustainability is at what point can I always answer that when I go to Untitled Chapter I would have maize? And so if all the factors of production cannot reasonably be answered to exist at all points in time, then you need to answer that question. So in operations, you take input, you put it through a system, you generate output. To what extent is all the inputs and the processes of operation self-sufficient, such that the dependencies are not overweighing, such that if Antiakosia gets angry at you and says that I won't give you means for Asana anymore, your business does not come halting. And for most of us, we're depending on some Antiakosia somewhere who one day can tell you, I won't give you maize anymore. And your fascinators won't matter. And so understand these 4 principles and understand it very well. And if you understand it, what it leads to is that now if you went, as I told you, forget about all the people sitting in classroom doing MBAs and take it from somebody who has money. It means nothing. And one from one of the best schools in Europe. It means nothing. Traditionally, if you went to a business school, they will teach you corporate finance, how to raise funds for corporate. They'll tell you 3 things. So retain earnings, bust your ass, create profit, put it back into the business. Common sense, right? Oh, come on. So why do I need school for that? But then they'll teach you how to measure plenty things. It's okay. Or they'll tell you debt and bond. Go to somebody, tell him, I will issue you a bond or give me money as a loan. Something. Who doesn't know if I go to somebody for a loan, I can finance my business? It's good knowledge. Bro, debt and bonds. It makes you sound egalitarian, like you have arrived. And the last one is equities and shares, which is who doesn't know that if I give you 5% of my business and you give me 1 million, I can finance the business. So traditionally, these are the things they will tell you, but this means nothing to most of us in this room. Because I can tell you on authority, if you had enough money to bust your ass to create profit, maybe you wouldn't need a startup capital. Right? And if you could create debt and bonds, you would have done that. And the people who have money would probably not give you anything for a bond. Because even the legal regime won't allow you to raise a bond in Ghana. And for shares, limited liability has up to 50 people you can go and raise money and apply for. And so these traditional methods of raising funds, it's good and it's for corporate institutions that have already standardized. So they've grown and they are standard. If your business is like that, let's talk about the details of this. We can have a conversation. But for most of us in this room, there are alternative pathways. And this is at the heart of what I want to talk to you about. Now understand that the heart of what you're talking about is what? I can't hear you.
Trust.
I can't hear you.
Trust.
Can you shout it?
Trust.
At the heart of what you're contesting for in finance is trust. The whole banking industry and the biggest industry perhaps in all of global commerce runs on trust. No bank at any point in time has all the depositors' money with them. No bank. They take from one person and gives it to the other person and creates an arbitrage. And they only survive because people trust that if they give their money to a bank, they can always go there and take it back. That element of trust is what you need in your business. Now understand it. If you cannot engender trust, you cannot have financing. Can you help me tell the next person, if you can't engender trust, you can't have financing? I'm not sure they heard it quite well. Can you repeat it to them? If you can't make me trust you, you cannot have my money. You can't. And we go to business schools all our life. No one will teach us this. But understand the dynamics of trust. Trust, you're not investors, and all the people we think we need money from are important. But understand me when I say this. The very first person you need to build trust with is yourself. You need to be able to trust yourself enough to say that, can I run this idea enough? Can I bet my last coin on this idea that I would sell my car? When I was printing this book, it got to a time we almost sold out. I almost sold my car for this book. If it gets to a time that you believe that the content is good enough, that I can bet on my last coin to trust myself with this idea. Now understand that if you can win your own trust on your own idea, what happens is that you would invest time in making that idea work. Don't forget, we said that the underlying current of financing is the entrepreneur himself. And the second one is dynamics of the business. And both of them hinges on knowledge, the fact that you know enough. Now, the first person you need to build trust with, which is yourself, you need time to exchange for knowledge. And so if you trust yourself enough, you will sit and learn about that business. You will sit and understand what character it needs to build that business. Now the second thing you need is, you remember the money pathways we talked about. We said the first one is barter. And we said that barter still sits at the core of financing. Now he runs Resolute Media. The best I know, the best videographer in town. And I'm not kidding you. He's done work for some of the biggest names you can think of. AEL, big names. But the kind of videos he produces, I cannot pay for it. He's a partner in Africa Land. And this partnership, he's here, he could have been doing anything, any other work. He's here videoing this, and guess how much we're paying? How much? 0. Because he has as much stake in the business as I do. Can you build strategic partnerships? Understand that sometimes what you need, probably you need Mr. Kessie. Can you, because you produce a document and then you charge you $1,000 for that document. Which is why you need $1,000, right? And so if he could give you that document for free, that $1,000 cost is taken care of, right? I don't have money, but I understand the value of simple things. And so the point I'm making is that strategic partnership, if you were bringing a photographer, you all go for weddings. And as I told you, he's one of the best. And so if he's spending morning till now, when somebody said a photographer and they went and he starts laughing. But we're not paying anything. That cost of like a $3,000 to have a photographer, we're producing videos till that cannot come. And every video we produce, God being our help, He's a partner. Imagine for all the resource needs you had partners for them. But unfortunately, most entrepreneurs want it to be theirs. And so they would rather go screaming for $10,000 to go and pay all the other people who would gladly be partners for 0. And that, sometimes it breaks my heart. Make sure all the people you need for that business, you at least know them. Know that I need one sound engineer. Know that I need one technical director. Know them. And look, now we're looking for the baddest ads developer in town. We've spoken with a few people, but No, we don't want them. We're looking for somebody who can do web applications and mobile applications, the best in town. We've spoken with some very good people, but we don't think their heart is at the right place. But until we hit that partnership, those parts of the business has to hold, and we understand that it's okay. But we don't have money to pay the best in the industry. We can't. So we're looking for somebody who is willing to take a partnership on that. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. And so understand the stakeholders of the business, and can you increase that as partnership and forget about wanting it to be yours? I don't care. I call myself the land partner. It doesn't mean anything. If Africa Land fails, whatever I call myself means nothing. And it's the same with your business. Now the third stakeholder you need, now this is a very interesting point. Crowdfunding, incubators and accelerator programs. I'm sure KIC is one. I know InnoHub also does some incubation programs. Understand, for a startup, you need incubators and you need accelerator programs. And crowdfunding is basically young in our terrain. But everything you see on the board here is what Africa Learning stands for. From the education of the entrepreneur through the helping with the partnership to, as I told you, at our last episode, we put $2,000 on the ground. We've gotten some ideas, but they are not what we're looking for. And so, if you see anybody pitching anything for a crowdfund, an incubator, or a program to accelerate, apply. You don't lose anything. I know very soon a few banks will be pitching some free grants for good idea pitch and things like that. Apply for it. You do not lose anything. And the last stakeholder, or the last means of financing in the alternative form. So we spoke about the fact that the first person you need to build is yourself, to invest your time in knowing the dynamics of the business. The second one is building the resource needs you need, partner those ones. The third one we said is that crowdfunding, incubators and accelerator programs. And then the last means of financing. It is easier to go to Mr. Kessie and say that I did a business for AEL and that business is paying me $10,000. But AEL as a company will pay me $10,000 in the next 3 months. And so Mr. Kessie, can you take 20% out of the $10,000 I'm receiving from AEL and give me $8,000 and that confirm the invoice, and that when it comes, take the $10,000, but I need $8,000 to fund my business now. That is a far easier arrangement than going to a bank to look for money. But you see, you have to trade off with somebody. And don't forget that I said that the baseline at the ground of all forms of finance is trust. And so an idea to trade the businesses you've done. We're doing this for free. But at least we know that we're building a strategic partnership. I'm not mindless of that. And I have books after that I'm going to sell some. At least we sold one copy. If we don't sell anything anymore, we made something to buy fuel on our way out. And I got to know her because I gave her a free book when she came for an Uncle White show. We've given more books out than we've sold. But at least if even one of them ended up making me speak with almost 20, 30 people, that exchange is worth it. And so understand that at the core of financing and attracting money into your business is to engender trust. Trust with yourself, trust with stakeholders, trust with people who incubate and accelerate, and then people you can exchange your future cash flows for your present needs. Let's quickly end this. Usually these are scaling pitfalls. Again, this is backed by research and all the data is available in the book. So if I asked you, what is the single most important thing for your business to succeed? If I gave you any amount of money and now you've scaled. So this is scaling pitfalls. So now we're assuming that you've attracted the money. right? And so you are UT Bank, or you are a Capital Bank, or you are a Beige. What is the one pitfall, or what is the one thing that could lead you down the drain? Who will take a guess? Human resource. Who will take another guess? So you've scaled, you're a big brand. You've attracted all the finance, and you continue to attract goodwill and finance. What's the one pitfall? Now, a sense of independence and a sense of building functional integrity. This is a survey, and this is a survey of some employees of some of these banks to ask them what was the one thing. At this point of the research, the companies had not collapsed, but if you were an expert in the field, you knew they had problems. And so I was fortunate to do this research in 2014 as part of my dissertation for my MBA. Now the question was, we were measuring nearness to collapse, and so we were measuring what factors were prevalent in companies that are not doing well, basically. So how do you tell if a company is not doing well? One of the first things you see is that you see that, of course, lack of standardization, as the fact that people do not have integrity, human resource, whether it's the staff, and then the lack of systems, the economy, and then the culture. We were measuring, among other things, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But these 7 things emerge as the top ranking factors. And the first one is the authority to give to functional units to act as those. I tell you why. What this means is something very simple, which I've said here. The fact that entrepreneurs want businesses to be theirs, and anybody they think they've hired, whether they are experts or not, belongs to them, and that their expert knowledge means nothing to them, and that you are there to do work, and if you can't do it, get out, was ranked as the number 1 cause of the collapse. I don't have contributions in the videos he produced because I have no clue as to how to produce a video. But you can check, he does amazing videos. That is his expert field. Can I trust his judgment to do that? And so understand that as you upscale, the partners you form and the relationships you build need to be taken for their functional independence. People you hire and people you get into the business come on for a certain value. Can you appreciate that value as it is and not diminish it because you've become big? Can you not take somebody for granted because you think that you're the boss? Again, can you have that humility Kessie spoke about, to say that we're in this together, and so that humility to build as a consensus and as a brand that belongs to us. Now, this is we think that we are here, right? We think that we're in a small country here, and now we are 20 people sitting in a small corner in Wisconsin. Red dots. We're pretty insignificant in the scope of the world, right? Right? That's how some people think. We think we're just a small tiny dot, Ghana somewhere, and and you see the global gold is somewhere around here. So US with Alaska somewhere there is the gold land, the dream land. We all want to go to Yankee, and that's the place of gold. And the greening field is somewhere in China. So China is the greening field. And so if we're not in China, which is greening, and we're not in America, the land of gold, we must be somewhere in the heat, dotted with all the scars of red, going nowhere. Right? Yep. But I want to tell you this. Now look at this data set. The blue line is Switzerland. The whole land space of Switzerland. About 29,000 square kilometers. This line is Holland, Netherlands, and I'm using those 2 countries because I'm pretty familiar with them. Now, this gray line is 33,000 square meters. Now, this black line is Ghana, 240,000 square kilometers. Now the two countries put together is about a quarter of the resources in Ghana, space-wise. But something will shock you. How many of us can identify with brands on the left? You know at least one brand on the left, raise your hand. Good. And we're still a tiny country in the midst of the world, but we know these brands here, alright? Who can guess where the left brands come from? Come on, take a while. Where does all these companies come from? Where? US? Where? Europe? Europe is not a country. South Africa. Who can guess again? Okay, good guess for one book. Now the competition got stickier. Counting 3, 2, ready, going.
Netherlands.
Good try, but no, go on. So this is Switzerland. Yeah, but you have a book already. But anyway, what's after the morning? So all these brands come from that 29,000 square kilometer land. Nescafe, Nestle, Rolex, and they don't even produce gold. Cocoa. Yes. How about these brands? Netherlands, that's obvious. Preceded if you follow. Now, Unilever is here, Shell is here. At least you know Heineken for those who drink. Philips, yes. And these are the smallest. Hear me. Now let's do this. There's a big space in between. Name me 3 Ghanaian companies that are stronger brands like the one you see on the left and right. Shall we go 1?
Cocoa.
Okay, 2. Yeah, we're granting Cocoa Board. Let's not fight it. Cocoa Board, yeah. What?
Huh? What cook?
Horseman shoes.
I don't know.
Comparing to the brands on the left and the right. Any other? Cocoa King. Right.
These people, the bread people.
The bread people.
A1.
Left and right.
This specialized.
Left and right. Left and right. Now hear this. If you went beyond Ghana, all the brands you're mentioning. Yeah, that's the brand I'll grant you because they are sub-regional. But aside of Casapreco, and maybe a few others, indigenous brands that stand up to any of these ones. Hear me. We think that we must go borrowing from people to build brands like this. But I dare you to read about them. Most of them here have been built by strong, long-lasting partnerships for years. And we think that our bread lies in their mouth, and if they don't give us money, we can't do anything. How does Unilever and Nestle build the biggest FMCGs in the world when their cocoa is from Sefi Bekwai? And you're here, and the cocoa is done by your grandfather. Okay, let me go on before I cry. So, I want you to partner us in doing this. Take your phone if you have. Instagram, I know most of us have. Follow our link, Africa Land. It's a 3-month-old brand, as I told you. But we thank God we're making some inroads. So follow us. Our YouTube is Africa Land Limited. We have about 5 videos. Give us comments, share it with other people. How many of us think that this content is as strong as any other content you can hear anywhere? How many of us think so? Thank you, sir. How many of us think this content is not sound? is content worth sharing. So we're saying that follow us, and on FB is Biasuba. The phone number is there. So I would make these available to your clubs, but please hear me. If you forget everything I've said about financing your opportunity, understand trust is at the bedrock, and trust in building strong, lasting partnerships. That takes away the burden of cost. It's better to own 1% of 1,000 than to own 1,000% of